friends, and welcome to Creation Station. We have so much to learn today. We have our April memory verse, an awesome story, and great songs. Let's learn together.
Hi friends! How are you? I am here to help you learn the memory verse. I'm going to say it first, and you repeat after me, okay? Here we go. Fear of the Lord is the foundation of true wisdom. All who obey His commandments will grow in wisdom. Praise Him forever. Psalm 111:10. Good job! That's your April memory verse.
Hello, Creation Station friends. Welcome back. Guess what time it is? It's story time. And I'm Miss Polly, and I'm so glad you're here. And we're going to start talking about what we learned last week so you can understand what we're learning. We're learning about the life of David. So David, as we learned last week, was chosen by God to be the next king. Remember, God's people really wanted a king. So God was like, okay, I'll give you a king. And he gave him Saul, but Saul did not love God the way he should, and he started disobeying God. Even though he looked like a king, he sounded like a king. He was like a big, tall man, and he looked like he would be a great king, but his heart was not a heart that loved God. So God chose David. And when God chose David, David was a child, right? He didn't look like a king. He was little. He was a shepherd, but God saw his heart. And in today's story, David's still a child. And God's people is having to fight an enemy. And this enemy is scary. And all of God's people, the people that were in the army, were scared of this enemy. But guess what? Guess who shows up to save the day? God used David to win this battle. Are you ready to learn about it? Let's pay attention. Are you focused? Like focus on the TV. Forget about your friends on the side. Sit crisscross applesauce. Turn on your listening ears. Put on your thinking cap. Open your eyes real big. And let's watch the story together.
The Young Hero and the Horrible Giant. God's people had some scary enemies, but the Philistines were the scariest of them all. And now the Philistines had come to fight them. The Philistines had a secret weapon called Goliath. Goliath was a terrifying soldier and, worst of all, a giant. A giant so strong and so tall and so scary that no one had ever been able to fight him and live to tell the tale. So, there they were, the Philistines standing on the top of one hill, God's people standing on top of the other. Every day, Goliath came out and shouted, "Send your best soldier to fight me. If he wins, we will be your slaves. But if I win, you will be our slaves." No one spoke. No one moved. "Chickens!" Goliath bellowed. "Your God can't save you. I'll rip your heads off and have you on toast." His beady, greedy eyes glowered at them hungrily from under his horrible helmet, as if any minute he really might just gobble them all up. And he laughed his terrible laugh. "Ha ha ha!" It boomed, echoing horribly around and around the dry, dry valley. Well, Goliath might just as well have been a green, slimy monster with 3 heads, because God's people froze with fear. Their eyes glazed over and they turned deathly pale. They knew if someone didn't do something quick, if someone didn't save them... but God would do something. He would send someone to save them. Now, you remember that David was the youngest son of Jesse? Well, his brothers were soldiers in the army. One day, when David brought his brothers their lunches, he saw Goliath, and he saw how scared everyone was. "Don't be afraid," David said. "I'll fight him for you." "Oh, you're only a little shepherd boy," the king said, "and Goliath is a great soldier. How will you fight him?" "God will help me," David said. So the king gave David his royal armor to wear. But it was too heavy and too big, and David couldn't even walk. "I won't need this," David said. Instead, David picked out 5 smooth stones from the stream. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Took his slingshot and walked towards Goliath. Step, step, step. Goliath walked towards David. Thud, thud, thud. "You?" Goliath peered down at the small boy. "I am little," David shouted up to him, "but God is great." Goliath laughed an even terribler laugh than usual. "Ha ha ha ha!" It went. With just one swing of his giant sword, Goliath could finish the boy off. But David kept going. "It isn't how strong you are or how many swords and spears you have that will save you. It is God who saves you. This is God's battle, and God always wins his battle." David put a stone in his sling, swung it around, and let it go. The little stone flew whizz like a bullet through the air and struck Goliath, thud, right between the eyes. Goliath stopped laughing. He stumbled and staggered and crash fell dead. When the Philistines saw Goliath was dead, they ran away. And when God's people saw them running away, they cheered. God had saved his people. David was a hero. Many years later, God would send his people another young hero to fight for them and to save them. But this hero would fight the greatest battle the world has ever known.
All right, friends, did you pay attention? I hope so, because this story is awesome. So we saw in the story that the people from the army, God's people from the army were so scared of Goliath because he was so strong and big and he would never lose. But David, the little guy that wasn't even part of the army, that did not have an armor, all he had was the 5 little stones that he picked up on the way and God. But he knew that if God was with him, he would win. He trusted God with all his heart, right? And then, guess what? He beat the giant Goliath. How amazing is that? He didn't look like a hero. He was just a kid. But he had God with him. And there's another part of the story. I don't know if you paid attention at the end of the video. I want to read it to you again. It said, many years later, God would send his people another young hero to fight for them and to save them. But this hero would fight the greatest battle the world has ever known. Do you know who that is? That's right. That's Jesus. He didn't look like a hero. He was born in a manger. He didn't look like a king. He was a carpenter, right? And guess what? He is the biggest hero of all. And we know that he won the biggest battle of all. He conquered sin. He won. And now we can have a relationship with him. Isn't that amazing? Okay, now it's time for us to sing, but I'm going to tell you something. The first song that we're going to sing today, I want y'all to stand up, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about this song. When I was a kid, your age, and I bet the volunteers here, they knew this song too. It's all about David and how David won against Goliath. And there's a part in the song that it says that David got the stones and he went round and round and round with the stones. Can you do that with me? Like, are you standing up? Stand up, and then we're going to go. And he put the stone and he goes round and round and round. So when the song says that, I want you to do that. Can you do that for me? Good job. So let's worship our God together. I want you to sing really, really loud. Can you do that for me? Let's sing.
Only a boy named David, only a little slave. Only a boy named David, but he could play and sing. Only a boy named David, only a rippling brook. Only a boy named David, but 5 little stones he took. And 1 little stone went into the sling, and the sling went round and round. And 1 little stone went into the sling, and the sling went round and round. And round and round and round and round and round and round and round. And 1 little stone went into the air, and the jug came tumbling down. Only a boy named David, only a little slave. Only a boy named David, but he could play and sing. Only a boy named David, only a rippling brook. Only a boy named David, but 5 little stones he took. And 1 little stone went into the sling, and the sling went round and round. And 1 little stone went into the sling, and the sling went round and round. And round and round and round and round and round and round and round. And 1 little stone went into the air, and the jug came tumbling down. And 1 little stone went into the air, and the jug came tumbling down.
My God is so big and so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do. My God is so big and so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do. My God is so big and so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do. My God is so big and so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do. In the beginning, God made everything. God simply spoke and the world came to be. He sent a flood and made everything new. He parted the sea and let his people walk through. He helped a boy bring a giant right down. Joshua marched, the walls fell to the ground. These acts of learned to live here on the earth. He healed the sick, he made blind men see. He let the lame walk and he set the world free. He died on a cross and he rose from the grave. He conquered sin, he is mighty to save. He went to heaven and he's coming back. God's word is true, but if it's attacked, I'll look you in the eye and say, my God is so big and so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do. My God is so big and so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do. God the Spirit, God the Father, God the Son. 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 1. God the Spirit, God the Father, God the Son. 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 1. My God is so big and so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do. I'm not afraid because God is so big and so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do. My God is so big and so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do. My God is so big and so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do. My God is so big and so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do.
I had a great time learning with you today. Come back next week. Bye!